Productivity is never an accident. We can't foresee the future, right? But what I often do is I ask myself, where would I be 10 years from now based on what I'm doing? Whatever the answer is to that question, where do I want to be 10 years from now? And am I doing what I need to do right now to be able to get as close as possible to whatever that is 10 years from now? It's a continuation of planning, intelligent planning, and also discipline, consistency to do whatever it is or whatever it takes to get to that. And the only reason why, me personally, why I go through life thinking like this is 10 years ago, when I was 21, 22 years old, I thought I would be in the NFL. That didn't work out, right? Obviously. Okay, life hits you. I sat down and I didn't cry, but I was lost. I was confused. I was shaken up. I started to have self doubt. I started to question everything. Now, what do I do? Where do I go from here? This didn't work out. Obviously, I felt like the luck of the draw was not on my side. I had bad luck. I'm a good person. I worked my ass off. I'm good enough, so I was told. But I didn't make it. Will life be a continuous process of trial and error and I don't succeed at anything? Is the type of questions I ask myself. Am I good enough? Am I worthy? Should I quit? Should I give up? Should I go back home and just work a job, right? Be regular. There's nothing wrong with that. But this is what I ask myself. So looking back, now that I'm 32, looking back when I was 22 and things didn't work out, in that moment, shoulda, coulda, woulda. I should have bust my ass to make sure or to ensure that when I'm 32, I'm not asking myself the same questions. So now that I'm 32, let's make sure I don't sit down and dwell on things that didn't happen or dwell on things in the past because I can't go back to the past. I can only move forward, right? What would you do? That's what I ask myself. What am I going to do? What are you going to do? If you're in your 20s, you're in a beautiful spot. I don't care what anybody tell you guys. Like I say, I'm not giving advice, but this is a perspective. It doesn't matter what anybody tell you. If you're in your 20s or even younger, you are in a great spot. No matter what's going on out here in the world, 10 years from now, you can be in a great position. You could be in a beautiful spot that nobody's going to foresee. Nobody can see the future, right? But if you have a vision, if you want to be somewhere 10 years from now, man, you could do so much right now to, I wouldn't say guarantee, but everything, all but a guarantee, you will put yourself in a position to be right where you want to be 10 years from now if you just put the work in now. And I don't mean just clock in and clock out when I say work. Like I say, work is everything. Work is growth, acceptance, accountability, responsibility, failure, learning from the failures, process of elimination. This didn't work, remove it, keep doing what did work, and add something else to it. Add everything, add more tools to your arsenal, add value to yourself, and then you can put it back out into the future and consistently build on that. And over time, like compound interest, it gets greater. Even if you're in your 30s, you could do the same thing. I'm 32 years old. I can't sit down and dwell on the past. I see my kids every day, and it's just like, where do I want to be 10 years from now? Because I know whatever I'm doing, they benefit from. So, as a father, I do have something that I can fall back on that can always motivate me. Now, that's not the same for everybody, right? But the perspective is still the same for everybody in a sense. It doesn't matter if you're 18, 28, 38, 58, 68. You don't know if you're going to live 10 years from now, but let's say you do. You don't want to sit back and say, damn, I wasted 10 years thinking that I wouldn't even be here in 10 years. And here I am, and I've done nothing. Now, obviously, to each their own, do what you want. This is not advice, this is a perspective. Use what you have now to grow into what you want to have later. You grow through what you go through. Everything is not going to be bad. Sometimes you sit back and you think, wow, as much as I was pessimistic about life, it isn't that bad. You see what I'm saying? So if you're going to sit down and you're going to think long term. Don't sacrifice what you want in the future for what you want right now. Short term, temporary satisfaction and pleasure will not yield you that long term accomplishment, that long term fulfillment in life. You have to do something now that you may or may not want to do to get to where you want to be. It's simple. Simple doesn't mean easy. Simple means the quickest way to go down that path is straight ahead, but you might make a left, you might turn back around, you might go right, 10 steps forward, 12 back, 8 forward, 4 back, 20 steps forward, and then you're going to take 12 back. Like, you're going to have a lot of obstacles you have to cross. But if you always ask yourself, where do I see myself 10 years from now? That will always put you in a mindset of, I have to continue to do something, even if I don't want to do it. Sacrifice now to yield something greater later. All the successful people in the world, or even our family members that we look up to, somebody who we admire, somebody who's done a lot, somebody who helped a lot of people, somebody who's a kind person, who can give back, who can always lend a helping hand, who you can always go to for advice, or you can always look to them for inspiration. More often than not, they've had a plan. And even if it's not written out verbatim, it's always, where would I be if I don't do this? Okay, that puts a little bit of fear in my heart. That puts a little bit of fear in my mind. I don't want to do that. So how do I ensure that I don't go down that path? Well, if I do ABC and I end up on this side where I don't want to be, how about I just do XYZ and I'll be on the opposite side? If you're doing something right now and all you're getting is bad results, try to do the complete opposite. If you're doing the bare minimum because your mindset is saying it's not worth it, try to do a little bit more every day and try to add daily affirmations to your mind, such as, it will be worth it in the long term. But right now, it's the beginning. I have to do more right now and not see the results. And over time, I can do less and the results will be astronomical, because it's like compound interest. It's a continuation. It's walking down that path. But if you always remind yourself, 10 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, if you're 32 years old, my perspective is, as we get older, the quality of life may dwindle in certain aspects, like our physical abilities. We're not, at least most of us, are not athletically gifted as we were when we was 18, 22. But we have a little bit more wisdom, right? We've been through more, at least most of us, maybe not everybody, but generally, the older you get, the more you go through, the more you learn. Even if you don't speak out or tell the world what you've learned, you know within yourself, okay, I went through this, I will never do that again. I went through this, I thought this was going to be life. And once I've reached this point, it's not what I thought it was. That starts to be wisdom, because now you can apply that experience to things in life. You can restrain yourself from doing certain things because you know the outcome is not always what you expect, right? Expect the unexpected. So quality of life, it changes as we get older. So at 30, you may not be athletic as you was at 20, but you may have kids. A lot of us didn't have kids at 20. We're only promised so much time. We're not going to live forever. So the more we live, the longer we live, the more our quality of life should shift. Basically, when we're young, we have a different quality of life. When we're older, we have a different quality of life. but that clock is always ticking. So every 10 years, every decade, it's more or less, where would I be 10 years from now? Where would I be 10 years from now? Even though we're aware, like myself, when I was 20, I thought I was going to be this. Okay, I thought wrong. That didn't work out. Now that I'm 32, where would I be when I'm 42? And then 52, and then 62? Because you can sit around, I can sit around and say, I'm not going to be here when I'm 60. I might be dead and gone. I don't know that for sure, right? That goes for anybody. People have perished that we've known. They died early. Some of us have been waking up by the reality of you don't know when your time is going to come. So you kind of want to live life. That's why everybody have this adamant approach of why do this when it's not worth it. Life is meaningless. We're going to die anyway. Well, life is limited, but you don't know when that day comes, right? That expiration date. So you are better off. This is what I tell myself. You're better off staying focused on what you can control. What you can control is the homework you do today to pass the test tomorrow. And you can go with that approach every day, every week, every month, every year, and so forth and so on. And that's your compound. You're gonna make better decisions. You're gonna you're gonna perceive things different. Your perspective is constantly growing, it's getting better. You're gaining more wisdom. You're building more wealth, not just money wise, health wise. Health is wealth. Your mentality, your thought process, your acceptance of people, how to deal with people you like and don't like, because it's not necessarily you don't like them for being human, you just may not like their behavior as a person, right? You're gonna go through this, right? Every 10 years, where are we at? Did we hit that mark? Okay. Yes or no? Doesn't matter. We tried. We're somewhere, you know. Shoot for the stars, land on the moon, whatever, whatever. It's always, where would I be in this amount of time? Give yourself a date. But have short-term goals, have a short-term date, but always allocate that short-term date, those short-term successes to a long-term success, a long-term process. This is just what works for me. This is how I'm thinking. I'm just giving it back to you guys, right? You can do it however you want. If it's working for you, don't listen to me. Don't listen to me anyway. It's just a perspective. But try to change something. I think I've read it or I've always heard, if you're doing the same thing you was doing 5, 10 years ago, you didn't change at all. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but we're not just gonna say it's a good thing. See what I mean? You could be doing something great over the next 15 years and it's the same thing. But in doing something great, you learn a lot. And doing something that's just considered like stagnant, where you're just neutral, you're not moving forward or backward. A lot of people say if you're not growing, staying the same is you're not progressing, because even though you're not moving forward or backwards, everything around you is advancing. Everything around you is getting better or worse, but you're not adapting at all because you're not taking risks, you're not taking chances. You're not growing. You know, we grow through what we go through. Let's just allocate. This is how I coach myself. Let's just allocate time to remind ourselves, where are you going to be 10 years from now? Me, where are my daughters going to be 10 years from now based on what I'm doing right now? A lot of people are going to hate work 2 jobs. You ain't got to do anything. When I say I work 2 jobs, it's I was the idiot that put himself in debt, right? I was the idiot that made bad financial situations 10 years ago. So I have to do what I need to do now. Doesn't matter if I want to do it or not. I should do it because it will be better for me and my children. If I die in 15 years, God forbid, I would not want to leave debt to my wife and kids, right? They depend on me. So I have to think long-term success. Success is not just being rich, man. It's more like, can you deal with problems? I have problems that are self-inflicted. I did that. It's not nobody else's fault. It's me. So 10 years from now, do I still want to deal with the problems that I've put on myself through my recent decisions? Absolutely not. So what can I do? Okay, sit down, write that out every day, remind myself. Not every day. More often than not, let's remind myself of what I need to do to take care everything that I need to remove. It's always going to be something, but let's not have something sitting on our plate from 15 years ago we could have got rid of. Okay? That's how I think. If I had debt from 20 years ago, I need to get rid of that. If I have debt from 10 years ago, I need to get rid of that. I'm probably going to have some type of debt, or I'm going to have money do something for me, and the return or the outcome is not going to be what I wanted, but I still have to deal with that. Let's not deal with that and add that on top of stuff I left behind. Just my thought process. Our past decision catches up with us in the future. Let's not let the past, let's not allow the past to affect our future more than it should. It should just be lessons learned. We learn those lessons, we use that wisdom to make better decisions in the present, and we shall get better at doing that in the future, and so forth and so on. That's simply what I'm saying. And for you guys that's listening, this is me talking to me, right? But if I'm talking to a friend, if I'm talking to somebody who asks me for advice, this isn't really advice. It's a perspective based on my decisions. So if that's value for you, allocate that towards whatever it is you have going on. You know, I'm very transparent. I don't mind calling myself out to the world. I'll stand on stage and say, I had $30,000 of student loan debt. I bought a car I couldn't afford. I missed payments. My car got repoed. Credit card debt. Lived in a car. Asked people for money. Didn't pay them back. At least when I said I was, but I did pay them back. Um, asked people, can I sleep on their couch for 6 months? Ended up being a year. Got kicked out because I didn't stick with the agreement. Like I'm not afraid to say I made a lot of stupid decisions because everybody is not great at making decisions, right? I'm not going to fake who I am. People make great decisions. They're damn near perfect, right? Nobody's perfect, but they're like excellent. You can learn from those people, but you can also learn from me. Before you become my age, don't do that. Don't rush. Take your time. Because if I can go back to when I was 22, which I can't, but if somebody's 22, learn from the mistakes I made when I was 22. But so far, if you did make those mistakes, you're in a good spot because that's less you have to clean up. Your plate is not dirty yet. It's clean. Just make sure you add quality foods. Don't put the dirty food, the fast food, the food that's going to slow you down, the sluggish nutrients. You want that healthy nutrients. So think long term. 10 years from now, what do you want to be? Write those goals down. Go for it. You're going to make mistakes. Don't worry about making mistakes. Worry about continuing to do what you need to do to get to where you want to be. And in 10 years, do it again. And then make sure you accomplish those short-term successes along the way. And have fun. Smile, hang out, do what you want. But every now and then, go monk mode for a few months, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, and then take a month off, 2 months off. Because after a certain amount of years, you probably won't have to go through that process. It'll be a totally different process for you. Because some of you guys got a lot of great goals. You're ambitious. Just go for it. If don't nobody believe in you, I believe in you.